Most people think wealth looks obvious. Luxury cars, designer clothes, giant houses, vacation photos every 2 weeks. But the strange thing is, some of the wealthiest people you'll ever meet look completely normal. They drive Hondas. They wear plain black shirts. They disappear on weekends instead of posting them. And meanwhile, the people trying the hardest to look rich are usually buried in payments. That's the game nobody teaches you. Visible wealth is expensive. Invisible wealth compounds. Because the second people think you have money, everything changes. Friends start asking questions. Family expectations rise. You feel pressure to keep up with the version of yourself you created. And suddenly your income doesn't belong to your future anymore. It belongs to your image. Hey, I'm Brian, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people quietly become financially free while everybody else is busy performing success online. And after studying millionaires, behavioral psychology, and real-world money habits for years, I now noticed something. The people who build lasting wealth move differently, quietly, systematically, almost invisibly. So in this video, I'm going to break down 14 smart moves that help you build serious wealth without anyone knowing. No fake flexing, no exhausting lifestyle inflation, no financial theater, just real money, growing quietly in the background. And if you like practical money psychology videos like this, subscribe, because this channel is all about helping you build freedom instead of just looking successful. Here's the mindset shift most people never make. The goal is not to look wealthy. The goal is to become difficult to control. That's what money actually gives you. Options, time, freedom, breathing room. But modern culture pushes the exact opposite. It teaches you to display every upgrade immediately. New car? Post it. Raise at work? Hint at it. Fancy dinner? Upload the receipt disguised as a photo. Why? Because humans are wired for social validation. Your brain loves status signals. It wants approval from the tribe. That's ancient survival psychology showing up in modern money decisions. But financially, that instinct destroys people. Rich understands this. Poor Peter doesn't. Both make $80,000 per year. Richard automates investments, keeps his lifestyle stable, and stays private. Peter upgrades everything the second his paycheck rises because he wants his life to look successful. 10 years later, Richard has options. Peter has appearances. That's the difference this entire video is about. Building a life that's financially powerful without turning your money into a public performance. Move number 1. Automate savings before you see your paycheck. This works because of something called friction reduction. Humans spend what's visible. If your checking account always looks full, your brain assumes you can afford more than you actually can. So Richard removes the temptation completely. The second his paycheck hits, 20% automatically moves into investments and savings. He never touches it, never debates it, never relies on motivation. Poor Peter does the opposite. He saves whatever is left over, which usually means nothing. If you invested $1,000 per month into a broad stock market index fund earning an average annual return of 10%, after 30 years you'd have over $2 million. Quietly, automatically, in the background. That's invisible wealth. Move number 2. Never discuss your income or net worth. The psychological principle here is expectation anchoring. The more people think you have, the more they unconsciously expect from you. More generosity, more spending, more availability, and sometimes more resentment. Quiet wealth protects your peace. You can talk about investing. You can talk about strategy. But exact numbers? Keep them private. Because once money enters relationships, people stop seeing your decisions objectively. They compare, they calculate, they judge. Privacy removes all of that noise. Move number 3. Drive a paid-off boring car for 8 to 10 years. Cars are one of the fastest ways to delay wealth. Not because cars are evil. Because ego is expensive. Poor Peter buys a luxury SUV with a monthly payment of $900. Richard drives a reliable paid-off Toyota for 10 years and invests that same $900 monthly instead. At a 10% annual return, that $900 per month becomes roughly $180,000 after 10 years. Same income, completely different outcome. One bought status, the other bought freedom. If you're new here and just subscribed, comment your name below. I read every comment and shout out new subscribers in my next video. I do appreciate you joining me on this finance journey. Move number 4. Avoid social media flex culture entirely. Comparison is financial poison. The more luxury content you consume, the more normal overspending starts to feel. Suddenly everybody needs a luxury apartment. Everybody needs bottle service. Everybody needs designer everything. But most of it is financed, or rented, or deeply stressful behind the scenes. Richard understands something important. Every minute you spend performing wealth is a minute you're not building it. Silence protects focus. No drama, no pressure, no competition, just growth. Move number 5. Live in a modest home and keep housing below 30% of take-home pay. Housing inflation destroys financial flexibility. Poor Peter gets a massive apartment because it matches his salary. Now over half his income disappears before the month even starts. Rich Richard chooses a smaller place that costs far less than the bank says he can afford. That gap changes everything. More investing, more cash flow, more margin for mistakes. Let's say Peter spends $3,000 monthly on housing, while Richard spends $1,800. That difference is $1,200 per month. Invested over 20 years at 10% annually, that becomes over $900,000 from housing decisions alone. Move number 6. Freeze your lifestyle for 1 year after every raise. This fights something called hedonic adaptation, which basically means humans adjust to upgrades incredibly fast. Your new salary feels exciting for maybe 2 months. Then it feels normal. And suddenly your spending rises to match it. Rich Richard delays lifestyle upgrades intentionally. When he gets a raise, he keeps living exactly the same for 1 full year and invests the difference. That creates explosive wealth acceleration without feeling painful. Poor Peter upgrades instantly. Better apartment, better car, more subscriptions, more restaurants. Raise, gone. That's how people make 6 figures and still feel broke. Move number 7. Keep investments boring. This one feels wrong at first, because boring doesn't feel like progress. Your brain wants excitement. Hot stock tips. Crypto moonshots. A friend saying, "You have to get in now." That's dopamine investing. And it usually ends badly. Rich Richard keeps it painfully simple. Broad index funds. Automatic monthly investing. Dollar cost averaging. That's it. No chasing trends. No panic selling. No trying to outsmart the market every Thursday afternoon. Poor Peter invests emotionally. He buys when everyone's excited, then panics. He sells. Then 6 months later, he buys something else. He's always moving, but rarely compounding. Richard understands something Peter doesn't. Boring gets rich. If Richard invests $1,000 every month into a broad market fund, earning roughly 10% annually, over 30 years that can become more than $2 million. Not because he was brilliant, because he was consistent. That's what people underestimate. The biggest fortunes are often built through repetition, not genius. Move number 8. Give anonymously when you do give. Money changes relationships fast. Generosity can too. Rich Richard gives but quietly. Maybe he pays a tuition bill without attaching his name. Maybe he covers groceries for someone during a hard month. Maybe he donates regularly and tells nobody. Why? Because anonymous giving removes ego from generosity. No applause, no performance, no scoreboard. Just impact. Poor Peter gives publicly, sometimes with good intentions, but sometimes with the hope of being seen as generous. And when recognition becomes part of giving, things get messy. Quiet generosity protects relationships, and it keeps your identity rooted in who you are, not in what you can provide financially. That kind of giving feels lighter, cleaner, more meaningful. Move number 9. Ruthlessly audits subscriptions. This one seems small, which is exactly why it matters. Wealth leaks through tiny recurring expenses people stop noticing. Streaming apps, unused software, memberships, premium upgrades, free trials you forgot to cancel 8 months ago. Convenience creep. That's the psychological trap. Each charge feels harmless. $10 here, $20 there. No big deal. Until you add it up. Rich Richard does a subscription audit every few months. He opens the bank statement, looks line by line, cuts aggressively, no emotion. If it's not useful, it goes. Poor Peter keeps paying because canceling feels annoying. Let's say you're wasting $200 every month on subscriptions you barely use. That's $2,400 per year. Invested over 20 years at a 10% average annual return, that becomes over $150,000 from money you weren't even enjoying. That's the danger. Tiny leaks sink big ships. Move number 10. Build a 6-month emergency fund and tell nobody about it. Emergency funds don't look exciting online, but they create something more valuable than attention. Calm. When your car breaks down, you're fine. When layoffs happen, you're stable. When life gets chaotic, you can breathe. Poor Peter has appearances, but no cushion. One emergency becomes credit card debt immediately. Rich Richard quietly keeps 6 months of expenses sitting safely in high-yield savings. No panic. No desperation. No public breakdowns. That's real financial strength. Move number 11. Use LLCs or legal entities quietly. Wealthy people separate themselves from their assets. Not because they're paranoid, because they understand protection. If Richard buys a rental property, he may place it under a limited liability company instead of directly under his personal name. Simple idea. If something goes wrong legally, there's an extra layer of separation between the asset and his personal finances. Most people think wealth building is only about earning more. But protecting wealth matters too. Quiet operators understand both sides of the game. Move number 12. Build multiple income streams silently. This is where invisible wealth starts becoming powerful. Rich Richard doesn't rely on one paycheck. He slowly builds layers: dividend income, freelance work, rental income, digital products, side consulting. Nothing flashy, nothing loud, just additional streams quietly stacking together. Poor Peter increases spending every time his salary rises. Richard increases income sources. Huge difference. Imagine Richard builds an extra $2,000 monthly from side income streams and invests all of it. That's $24,000 yearly. Invested annually for 20 years at 10% returns? That grows to over $1.5 million. And most people around him would never even know it was happening. That's the crazy part. Real wealth often grows in silence while everybody else is distracted by appearances. Move number 13. Master selective transparency. You can talk about principles without revealing numbers. That's the balance. Rich Richard talks about investing, discipline, and financial systems. But he rarely tells people exactly how much he makes or exactly how much he owns. Because exact numbers change relationships. People start comparing themselves, projecting onto you, treating you differently. Poor Peter thinks transparency means broadcasting every financial milestone online. Net worth updates, income screenshots, luxury purchases. But attention has a hidden cost. Selective transparency lets you stay relatable without turning your financial life into public property. Move number 14. Space major purchases years apart. Wealthy people often buy slowly, very slowly. Poor Peter upgrades constantly because every purchase is emotional proof that he's progressing. New watch, new car, new apartment, new furniture. Richard thinks differently. He upgrades intentionally and infrequently because every large purchase resets your financial momentum. Spacing purchases years apart does two powerful things. First, it keeps more money compounding longer. Second, it prevents the sudden wealth effect where people start seeing you differently and expecting more from you financially. Patience is one of the most underrated wealth-building skills on earth. If you strip this entire video down to one formula, it's this: privacy plus automation plus consistency equals invisible wealth. Privacy protects you from social pressure. You stop making financial decisions to impress people who are not paying your bills. Automation removes emotion. You invest before excuses appear, before motivation disappears, before lifestyle inflation steals the money. And consistency is where the magic happens. Not intensity, not perfection. Because wealth is usually not built through one giant decision. It's built through thousands of quiet repetitions nobody applauds. Driving the paid-off car another year. Investing every month. Ignoring comparison culture. Keeping your lifestyle stable while your assets grow underneath it. That's invisible wealth. And ironically, those quiet habits often create the loudest financial outcomes 10 years later. At the end of the day, the real flex is not looking rich. It's waking up without financial fear. That's the goal. The ability to say no. The ability to leave toxic environments. The ability to handle emergencies calmly. The ability to buy back your time. And most of that freedom gets built quietly, not online, not through status symbols, not through constant upgrades. Just disciplined decisions repeated for years. Automate your savings. Protect your privacy. Drive the boring car. Ignore flex culture. Keep housing affordable. Freeze your lifestyle after raises. Invest consistently. Give anonymously. Cut useless subscriptions. Build emergency reserves. Protect assets legally. Create multiple income streams. Practice selective transparency and space purchases far apart. Do that for 10 years, and something strange happens. You may look completely ordinary from the outside, but underneath, your investments are compounding. Your cash flow is growing. Your stress is shrinking. Your freedom is expanding. You become the person everyone underestimates financially. And honestly, that's one of the best positions you can be in. No pressure. No performance. No financial theater. Just real wealth. Quietly building in the background while everybody else is distracted trying to look successful. Now go implement these 14 moves. Your future self will thank you.